The ancient Egyptians left behind remarkable structures such as the Egyptian pyramids and the Sphinx, which have intrigued researchers for a long time. Many aspects of these structures remained mysterious, and theories about them were often speculative. Popular podcaster Joe Rogan recently hosted guests to explore the secrets and age of the Egyptian Sphinx. In this video, we will join Joe Rogan and delve vintage as they reveal fascinating facts about the Sphinx. It is worth mentioning that in 2021, after extensive reconstruction, Egypt officially opened the ancient Sphinx Avenue. The Sphinx Avenue, a remarkable ancient pathway, is adorned with over 1,000 statues of mythical creatures. Stretching nearly 3 kilometers in length and about 75 meters in width, it was once known as the Path of God. This avenue connected the Luxor Temple to the Karnak Temple, both located along the Nile River in Egypt. Zahi Hawass, an Egyptologist who worked on restoring the Sphinx Avenue from 2005 to 2011, described Luxor as the world's largest open-air museum and the world's largest archaeological monument. It tells the story of Egypt's history from the 20th century BCE, or the 11th dynasty, to the Roman period. However, the Great Sphinx on the western bank of the Nile in Giza garners even more attention. Joe Rogan, known for hosting guests with diverse views, explores intriguing subjects beyond the mainstream. Professor Robert Schoch was invited by Joe Rogan to discuss the origin and age of the Great Sphinx, a renowned ancient structure. The expert Egyptologist presented evidence suggesting that the Giza Sphinx is much older than commonly believed, although not all members of the scientific community necessarily agree with this viewpoint. In ancient Egyptian art, the Sphinx was often depicted as a zoomorphic creature with the body of a lion and the head of a human, typically representing a high-ranking individual like a pharaoh. The Sphinx served as a symbolic guardian and was frequently depicted in tombs and temple complexes. Over time, depictions of sphinxes spread to Asia and Greece around the 15th and 16th centuries BCE. The Asian Sphinx, unlike the Egyptian version, featured eagle wings and was often portrayed in a feminine form. In Greek mythology, the mythical Sphinx had wings and a serpent tail and was described as a guardian that would devour travelers who failed to solve its riddles. The original name given to the Great Sphinx by ancient Egyptians during its creation remains unknown, since the word Sphinx was first mentioned in Greek mythology approximately 2,000 years after the statue was constructed. The ancient Egyptians' perspective on the Great Sphinx remains unclear. However, over time, the statue gradually became buried in the desert and was largely ignored for many centuries. Inscriptions on a pink granite slab located between the paws of the Great Sphinx tell the story of its rescue from the sands of time. According to legend, Prince Thutmose, the son of Pharaoh Amenhotep II, fell asleep near the Sphinx and had a dream in which the statue, referring to itself as Harmonicus, expressed its pitiful state. The statue struck a deal with the young prince. If he helped the Sphinx become a pharaoh, it would in turn assist him in becoming a pharaoh himself. Keeping his end of the bargain, Thutmose IV, upon becoming pharaoh, introduced the worship of the Sphinx among his people. Statues, paintings, and reliefs featuring the Sphinx became widespread throughout Egypt, symbolizing royal power and solar strength. Despite Pharaoh Thutmose's efforts, the Sphinx could not be fully preserved, and it was eventually forgotten, leading to erosion on its body and face. While some stories claim that Napoleon's troops shot off the statue's nose when they arrived in Egypt in 1798, drawings from the 18th century suggest that the nose was already missing before that time. It is more likely that a Muslim Sufi intentionally destroyed the nose in the 15th century as a protest against idolatry. Additionally, parts of the emblem on the Sphinx's headdress, including the royal cobra and the sacred beard, also suffer damage. An ancient ladder that is currently displayed at the British Museum was buried in sand up to the shoulders of the Sphinx until the early 1800s. During that time, an adventurer named Giovanni Battista Caviglia attempted to excavate the statue with a team of 160 people, but their efforts were unsuccessful. Auguste Mariette, a French archaeologist, made initial attempts to uncover the Sphinx by clearing sand around it. He was followed by another French archaeologist, Émile Bérez, who conducted a more extensive excavation. However, it was not until the late 1930s that Egyptian archaeologist Salim Hassan finally freed the statue from its sandy tomb. Unfortunately, the Sphinx continues to deteriorate due to wind, humidity, and pollution. Restoration work has been ongoing since the mid-1900s, but some attempts have been unsuccessful and caused further damage. The age of the Great Sphinx is a subject of debate. The widely accepted theory suggests that it was built during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre, who ruled around 2547 through 2521 BCE. It is believed that Khafre's father, Pharaoh Khufu, constructed the Great Pyramid, the largest of the three pyramids in Giza. When Khafre became pharaoh, he ordered the destruction of his own adjacent pyramid, which was slightly smaller than the Great Pyramid, but surrounded by additional structures, including the Sphinx and other statues. Traces of red pigment on the Sphinx's face indicate that it may have been painted. Some researchers propose that the Sphinx and the temple complex served a celestial purpose, associated with the resurrection of the pharaoh's soul through the alignment of solar and divine forces. There is additional evidence linking the Sphinx to Pharaoh Khafre and his temple complex. The head and face of the Sphinx bear a resemblance to a life-size statue of Khafre discovered in a nearby valley temple. Remnants of a processional road connecting the valley temple to Khafre's funerary temple near his pyramid were also found. Furthermore, in the 1980s, researchers discovered that the limestone blocks used in the walls of the Sphinx temple were taken from the quarry surrounding the statue. This suggests that the blocks were transported from the quarry to the Sphinx temple during its construction. Estimates indicate that carving the Great Sphinx out of a single limestone mass would have taken around 3 years with the labor of approximately 100 people. Over the years, various theories have emerged regarding the origin of the Great Sphinx, but most of these theories have been discredited by leading Egyptologists. Some suggest that the face of the Sphinx resembles Pharaoh Khufu, implying that he built the structure. Another argument proposes that it represents Pharaoh Djephedre, Khufu's older half-brother, and another son who erected the statue in honor of their father. There are also theories linking the Sphinx to Menkaure II, based on the style of stripes on the Sphinx's headdress. However, these theories are contradicted by the views of Professor Robert Schoch. Professor Schoch, a geologist and geophysicist who teaches at Boston University, caused a stir in the 1990s when he claimed that the Sphinx is much older than previously believed. He has an extensive background in academia, having earned his PhD from Yale University in 1983. In 2014, he became an honorary professor at the Nikola Vaptsarov Naval Academy in Bulgaria, recognizing his research on ancient civilizations. In 2017, he was appointed director of the Institute for the Study of the Origins of Civilization at Boston University. Schoch's recent research has focused on cataclysms that occurred around 9700 BCE, marking the end of the previous epoch and the downfall of advanced civilizations during that time. In his book titled Forgotten Civilization, Professor Robert Schoch presents a compelling collection of evidence from different fields of knowledge that points towards powerful solar flares as potential causes of ancient cataclysms. In 1990, Schoch embarked on a journey to Egypt accompanied by John Anthony West with the specific purpose of examining the Great Sphinx from a geological standpoint. At first, he aligned himself with the dating proposed by Egyptologists, but his geological investigations quickly uncovered inconsistencies with their assertions. During his research, Schoch analyzed the geological features surrounding the Great Sphinx and conducted extensive studies to assess its age. His findings led him to question the commonly accepted timeline put forth by Egyptologists. By examining the erosion patterns and geological markers, Schoch discovered anomalies that suggested a much older origin for the Sphinx than previously believed. These revelations prompted him to delve deeper into the possibility that ancient cataclysms, possibly triggered by powerful solar flares, played a role in shaping the history of our civilization. Schoch's groundbreaking research opened up new avenues of inquiry and stirred discussions within academic circles. His work challenged conventional beliefs and encouraged scholars to reconsider the dating and origins of ancient monuments. By merging geological analysis with historical and archaeological perspectives, Schoch sheds light on the potential impact of solar flares on ancient civilizations, offering a fresh perspective on the mysteries of our past. Upon examining the Sphinx, Professor Schoch quickly sensed that something was amiss. His initial intention was to challenge John Anthony West's theory regarding the age of the Sphinx at Giza. However, his investigation led him to a groundbreaking discovery, one that had been made several decades earlier by a relatively unknown French scientist named René Schwaller de Lubitsch. From 1937 to 1952, Schwaller meticulously surveyed the Egyptian temple at Luxor, unearthing previously undiscovered geometric relationships that were later confirmed by French archaeologists. Schwaller's findings extended beyond Luxor, encompassing various other locations as well. In 1949, he published his initial findings, followed by a more comprehensive report in 1957. His work challenged the prevailing belief in the mathematical proficiency of the ancient Egyptians and shed new light on their religious beliefs. However, Schwaller's work sparked intense debate and disagreement within academic circles. One intriguing observation made by Schwaller focused on a peculiar physical anomaly within the complex of the Giza pyramids. He noted a striking difference in erosion patterns between the Sphinx and other structures, leading him to propose that water, rather than wind-blown sand, was responsible for the Sphinx's weathering. Unfortunately, this observation did not receive significant attention at the time. It wasn't until the 1970s that Egyptologist John Anthony West brought it to the forefront. West meticulously compared the erosion patterns on the Sphinx, temples, and walls of the complex with those found on other structures within the Giza Plateau, ultimately revealing distinct and pronounced weathering on the stones of the Sphinx and its surrounding walls. This discovery sparked renewed interest and initiated further investigations into the true origins and age of the enigmatic Sphinx. The erosion on other structures at Giza showed signs of wind and sand erosion, while the Sphinx and its walls displayed different weathering patterns. This suggested that Egypt experienced a shift in climate over time, with rainfall decreasing as the temperate climate zone moved northward after the glacial period. Between approximately 10,000 and 5,000 BCE, a significant shift occurred in the Sahara region, transforming it from a lush green savanna into a desert landscape. Subsequently, from around 4,000 to 3,000 BCE, there was a relatively brief but intense period of rainfall, which eventually subsided by the middle of the 3rd millennium BCE. John Anthony West put forth a theory suggesting that the distinctive weathering patterns observed on the Sphinx complex were a result of flooding following the glacial period. According to West, this implied that the Sphinx was carved during or even prior to this time. However, his theory faced rejection from prominent archaeologists who held authoritative views. In 1990, Robert Schoch collaborated with West to investigate this intriguing matter further. During their research, Schoch made a significant discovery. He identified extensive erosion damage on the body of the Sphinx, which he attributed to the effects of rain and water runoff. Notably, Schoch pointed out that the Sphinx is situated on the fringes of the old, arid Sahara Desert, and other structures from the Old Kingdom period primarily exhibited erosion caused by wind and sand, which differed from the distinct signs of water erosion seen on the Sphinx. Based on his observations, Schoch drew the conclusion that the oldest portions of the Sphinx, referred to as the core body, likely originated around 5,000 BCE and could potentially date back even further to 10,000 BCE, coinciding with the last ice age and a different climatic era. However, it is worth noting that there remains disagreement among experts regarding this interpretation. Schoch also proposed that the current head of the Sphinx may not be the original one and might not accurately represent its original form, introducing an additional element of mystery to the enigmatic statue. The original head of the Sphinx would have suffered deterioration over time due to weather conditions and erosion. During the Egyptian dynasties, it was recarved, resulting in a smaller size. It is even possible that the Sphinx was originally a lion, but according to recent data, it was likely a lioness. Robert Schoch conducted seismic investigations around the base of the statue to measure the depth of weathering beneath the surface. During their seismic investigations, Schoch's team employed a sledgehammer to generate sound waves that penetrated the rock beneath the Sphinx, subsequently bouncing back to the surface. By analyzing the properties of the limestone rock, they gathered data that revealed an astonishing depth of subsurface weathering. This finding provided substantial support for Schoch's theory, suggesting that the construction of the Sphinx's body took place around 5000 BCE or potentially even earlier. Interestingly, the team also made an intriguing discovery: a hollow space or chamber beneath the left paw of the Sphinx. This discovery sparked speculation that this cavity could have served as a storage room for ancient records or other significant artifacts. The team encountered several smaller cavities scattered around and beneath the Sphinx, indicating the possibility of an extensive tunnel system running the entire length of its body. This revelation adds another layer of mystery to the enigmatic structure. When Schoch initially proposed his revolutionary idea that the Great Sphinx's age far exceeded previous estimations, his theory faced fierce skepticism from Egyptologists. These scholars demanded concrete evidence of an earlier civilization capable of constructing such an imposing monument. Their confidence rested on the belief that no advanced culture or civilization thrived prior to 3000 or 4000 BCE. However, even at Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, an ancient temple complex dating back over 12,000 years, no evidence of an advanced civilization has been found, intensifying the puzzle of the rise and fall of early civilizations. In October 1991, seizing an opportunity to share their remarkable research, Schoch and West chose to present their findings in Giza before the esteemed audience of the Geological Society of America. The response they received was nothing short of inspiring, affirming the significance and impact of their discoveries in the scientific community. Their work continues to stimulate further exploration and investigation into the mystery surrounding the Great Sphinx, inviting scholars and researchers to delve deeper into the secrets hidden within this ancient marvel. After presenting their research findings, Schoch and West received significant support from a large number of geologists who agreed with their arguments. These geologists not only expressed agreement but also offered practical assistance and valuable advice for further research in the field. However, there were also geologists who voiced doubts regarding Schoch's theory. In interviews and private correspondence, one geologist raised concerns about the seismic data, questioning whether it accurately reflected natural variations within the layers of rock. This doubt stemmed from the fact that the seismic profile did not align with the expected natural dip of the rock. Another geologist speculated that the Sphinx, including its body and not just the head, might be a natural rock formation rather than a deliberately carved structure. These doubts presented significant counter-arguments to Schoch's theory, emphasizing the need for further investigation and evidence. One of the critical counter-arguments proposed an alternative explanation for the water damage observed at the Giza site. It suggested that the heavy rainfall and floods that occurred throughout history in the Nile region could account for the erosion. As early as 1925, W.F. Womi, the director of the Geological Survey of Egypt, described the destructive effects of storms and highlighted how rainfall in the desert leads to flooding. He explained that the excess water seeks new paths, cutting deep channels through the more porous layers of rock. Zahi Hawass, the director of the Giza Antiquities Department, also plays a crucial role in this discussion. He regularly observes the erosion patterns on the Sphinx's surface and contributes to the ongoing debate. While archaeologists and conservators have not yet reached a consensus on the causes and appropriate solutions for the erosion, they do agree that the erosion is not primarily caused by rainfall associated with the melting glaciers of the Ice Age, as Shaw proposed. Instead, they attribute the erosion to a combination of factors including wind, water weathering, sand, and the natural crystallization of salts present in the limestone after they dissolve with morning dew. The diversity of opinions among geologists and experts in the field highlights the complexity of understanding the origins and deterioration of the Sphinx. Further research and investigation are crucial to gaining a comprehensive understanding of this ancient structure and the forces that have shaped it over time. Various mechanisms, including water erosion, have been observed on the temple megaliths in the valley, similar to the erosion seen on the Sphinx. Interestingly, the surviving granite blocks in the structures have inner surfaces that match the shape of the eroded limestone blocks. This indicates that the granite facing was added during the restoration and renovation of the heavily eroded structures, which likely took place during the Old Kingdom period. This aligns with the architectural style of other Egyptian structures from that era. According to Robert Schoch's theory, around 12,500 years ago, an unknown group of architects constructed the pyramid complex and the Sphinx statue. These structures were designed with special alignments related to astronomical events, representing a specific date. As time passed, the pyramids started to deteriorate, but the Sphinx, carved from a single mass of rock and potentially covered in sand, managed to survive. Approximately 8,000 years later, during the reign of the 4th dynasty pharaohs, efforts were made to restore the other structures in the complex, and it's possible that the Sphinx also underwent restoration during this period. Schoch proposes that the original form of the Sphinx resembled a lion, and the additional of a human head, resembling Pharaoh Khafre, was made during his rule. And this concludes today's video. If you found this information helpful, please show your support by liking the video, subscribing to our channel, and enabling notifications. Thanks for watching.